Domestic violence is a huge problem. In the U.S., almost 20 people a minute are physically abused. During 1 year, this equals to more than 10 million women and men. 1 in 15 children each year are exposed to domestic violence. On an average day, more than 20 million phone calls are placed to domestic violence hotlines. In 2011, 1,509 women were killed by men they knew. Each year, over 4.5 million women in the U.S. experience domestic violence. Every 9 seconds, a woman is beaten in the U.S. Domestic violence is the third leading cause of homelessness in families. 10 million children are exposed to domestic violence. What is domestic violence? Violent or aggressive behavior in the home, most often with a spouse or partner. Domestic violence can be physical, emotional, verbal, economic, and sexual abuse. Domestic violence happens most times because the abuser thinks it is okay. 3 women in the U.S. are murdered every day by a current or former partner. Over 38 million women have experienced domestic violence in their lifetime. Women with disabilities are 40% more likely to experience domestic violence. 2 out of every 5 gay or bisexual men will experience domestic violence. Over 100 domestic violence-related homicides occur in Michigan each year. More than 1 million people report a violent assault by a partner every year in the U.S. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have been victims of some form of physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. It's obvious that domestic violence represents a serious problem in our state and our country, but why? As stated on the website from Haven Houses in Oakland County, domestic violence assaults know no boundaries. They affect all races and ethnicities and all economic classes. While both men and women have been victims of violence against women, often at the hands of men, is the most common scenario. The reason for this is rooted in the historical and current unequal balance of power between men and women, boys and girls. In the U.S., approximately 98% of batterers are male. While the statistics here at home are staggering, violence against women reinforces men's power and controls over women throughout the world. This graph shows domestic violence in Michigan 2007. 72.5% are female and 27.4% are male, and 0.1% is other. This graph shows domestic violence calls in 2000 and 2009. In March of 2000, there was about 500 calls. In March of 2009, there was about 600 calls. In May of 2000, there was about 500 calls. In May 2009, there was about 600 calls. In April of 2000, there was about 300 calls. In April of 2009, there was about 600 calls. In June 2000, there was about 500 calls. In June 2009, there was about 700 calls. Domestic violence relates to Frederick Douglass because he was abused when he was a slave. Douglass saw lots of violence like slaves getting beaten. I think that if Douglass were alive today, he would try to help this problem. He knew what it felt like to be abused for no reason, to be treated bad. He would try to do anything to stop this. Help numbers for Oakland County: 24-hour crisis and support number 248-334-1274. Toll-free crisis number 877-922-1274. TTY line number 248-334-1290.